"I can make you walk again," the beggar said to the millionaire widow. Olivia Roberts never imagined her life would change completely on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon at Liberty Square in Chicago. The 42-year-old businesswoman was steering her motorized wheelchair along the paved path when a man in tattered clothes knelt before her. "I can make you walk again," the man said, lifting his brown eyes to meet her startled gaze. Olivia almost pressed the emergency button that connected her directly to her security team. This kind of approach had happened before. Con artists, opportunists, desperate people trying to take advantage of her condition. But something in the man's tone made her hesitate. "Who are you?" she asked, adjusting the dark hair that fell over her shoulders. "My name is Daniel Miller. I was a physical therapist before everything fell apart," he replied, still kneeling. The unexpected answer made Olivia study him more closely. Despite his worn clothes and unshaven face, there was something different about him. His eyes didn't have the empty look she usually saw in the beggars around here. There was determination there, mixed with a deep sadness she recognized. "A physical therapist?" she repeated, unable to hide the skepticism in her voice. "I worked for 15 years at St. Mary's Hospital. I specialized in spinal cord injuries," Daniel said quietly, as if each word pained him. "I know you've been like this for 5 years. A household accident, wasn't it?" Olivia's heart raced. That information wasn't public. Only those very close to her knew the details of how she had lost the use of her legs after falling down the stairs of her mansion during an argument with her husband. "How do you know that?" she asked, this time with a mix of curiosity and concern. "Because I studied your case," Daniel replied, finally standing up. "You've consulted the best specialists in the country, spent fortunes on experimental treatments, but nothing worked because they're only treating the symptoms, not the real cause." A shiver ran down Olivia's spine. Over the past 5 years, since Richard had passed away and she had taken full control of the family business, she truly had tried every kind of treatment. Clinics in the United States, Germany, Europe. Nothing had worked. "And you think you can do better?" she asked, still doubtful. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. "I don't think, I know," Daniel said with a conviction that surprised her. "But I need you to trust me. That's all." Olivia looked around. The square was bustling, families strolling, children playing, the normal life of an ordinary afternoon. Her life had been like that too, normal, until that terrible night 5 years ago. "What do you want in return?" she asked, because she had learned that everything in life came with a price. "A hot shower and 1 meal a day," Daniel answered simply. "That's all." The reply caught her off guard. She had expected a request for money, a job, some kind of favor. But a shower and food, it was so basic, so human, that her chest tightened. "That's it?" she pressed. "That's it," he confirmed. "I can work at your house if you'll allow it. No expensive equipment or special medications needed, just your legs and your willingness to try one more time." Olivia fell silent for a few seconds. Her rational mind screamed that this was madness, a beggar offering a cure for a condition the best doctors in the world had declared irreversible. But there was something about Daniel that intrigued her. Perhaps it was the silent despair she recognized in her own eyes when she looked in the mirror. "Why do you want to help me?" she asked. Daniel lowered his eyes again. When he answered, his voice was heavy with restrained emotion. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything because of something you didn't do. And I know that sometimes a second chance is all we need to start over." Those words hit Olivia like a punch to the gut. She had spent the last 5 years feeling as though her real life had ended on that staircase. Everything that came after was just survival. "Where are you staying?" she asked, surprising herself with the question. "On the street," Daniel replied without hesitation or shame. "For 3 years now." Olivia made a decision that would change her life forever. "My driver will pick you up tomorrow at 8 in the morning, right here," she said, pointing to the bench where he likely spent his nights. "You'll get one chance. Just one." Daniel's eyes filled with tears he tried to hide, but Olivia noticed. "Thank you," was all he managed to say. The next day, Olivia woke with a strange feeling in her stomach. Part of her hoped Daniel wouldn't show up, that it had all been just a crazy dream she'd allowed to become reality. But at 8 sharp, her driver buzzed the intercom. "Mrs. Roberts, he's here," James's voice came through the speaker. "Bring him in," she replied, adjusting herself in her chair. When Daniel entered the living room of her mansion in Riverside Heights, Olivia barely recognized him. James had given him clean borrowed clothes and he had showered. Still, he was visibly nervous, looking around as if he couldn't believe he was there. The housekeeper, Mrs. Wilson, a woman in her 60s who had worked for the family for over 2 decades, eyed Daniel with clear suspicion. "Mrs. Roberts, are you sure about this?" she asked, not bothering to lower her voice. "I am, Mrs. Wilson. Daniel will be staying with us for a while," Olivia replied firmly. "Excuse me," Daniel spoke up for the first time. "I don't want to cause trouble. If it's better, I can work during the day and leave at night." "No," Olivia said quickly. "You'll stay here. Mrs. Wilson will prepare the guest room." Mrs. Wilson left, muttering under her breath, clearly unhappy with the decision. "She's right to be suspicious," Daniel said when they were alone. "You don't know me. For all you know, I could be a fraud." "You could be," Olivia agreed. "But I've been deceived by people far better dressed than you. At least you're being honest about your intentions." Daniel walked over to her and knelt again, this time beside her chair. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward her legs. Olivia hesitated. It had been so long since anyone had touched her legs with medical intent. In recent years, only Mrs. Wilson touched them to help with bathing and basic physical therapy massages. "You may," she finally said. Daniel's hands were surprisingly warm as they touched her right leg over the fabric of her pants. He closed his eyes and began pressing specific points, as if reading a map only he could see. Suddenly, Olivia felt something she hadn't in 5 years, a subtle, almost imperceptible tingling in her thigh. "Did you feel that?" Daniel asked, opening his eyes and looking directly at her. "I did," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. "Good," he said, smiling for the first time since they'd met. "That means there's still a connection. We can work with this." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes. After 5 years of dashed hopes, that tiny tingling meant more than any promise the doctors had ever made. "What happened to you?" she asked. "Why are you on the street?" Daniel's smile vanished immediately. "It's a long story," he said, standing up. "We have time," insisted Olivia. Daniel walked to the window overlooking the garden. He remained silent for so long that Olivia thought he wouldn't answer. "I had a thriving clinic, a home, a life," he began without turning around. "I mostly treated patients with neurological injuries. I was developing a new unconventional technique based on acupressure and emotional stimuli." He paused, as if gathering courage to continue. Then a case happened. A young patient, 22 years old, a motorcycle accident. The doctors said he'd never walk again. I got him to move his legs again after 6 months of treatment. "That's amazing," said Olivia. "It was amazing," Daniel corrected, turning to her, "until he had a sudden relapse. During a session, something went wrong. He completely lost the sensation he'd regained and even developed new complications." Olivia saw the pain in his eyes and understood there was more to the story. "The family sued me. They said I'd used unscientific methods, that I was a fraud. The medical board revoked my license. I lost everything. And now," she asked gently, "now I know what I did wrong in that case," said Daniel, kneeling beside her again. "And I know I can help you without making the same mistake." Olivia studied his face for a long moment. There was honesty there, but also a determination that bordered on obsession. "Let's try," she finally said. In the following weeks, Daniel established a strict routine. Every morning at 7, he was in the physical therapy room Olivia had set up at home years before. They worked for 2 hours, took a break, and then another 2 hours in the afternoon. Daniel's method was unlike anything Olivia had tried before. He combined deep massages with pressure on specific points, always talking to her about her emotions, her fears, her hopes. The mind and body are connected in ways traditional medicine is still discovering, he explained during the sessions. Emotional trauma can block physical recovery just as much as any physical injury. Mrs. Wilson remained wary of Daniel, but Olivia noticed she'd stopped complaining openly. Maybe it was because she saw small changes in Olivia. Nothing dramatic, but she was smiling more, seeming more hopeful. 2 weeks into the treatment, during a particularly intense session, Olivia felt something different. Not just the tingling that had become familiar, but an almost cramp-like sensation in her left calf. "Daniel," she said, interrupting him mid-explanation about pressure points. "What is it?" he asked immediately. "My leg. The left one. It feels like it wants to move." Daniel's eyes lit up. "Let's test it," he said, placing her hands on her left thigh. "Try to think about the movement. Don't force it. Just imagine your leg moving." Olivia closed her eyes and focused. For a second, just a second, she was sure she'd felt the muscle twitch. "Did it work?" she asked, opening her eyes. "It worked," he confirmed, but his expression was cautious. "It was subtle, but it worked. We'll take it slow. We can't rush the process." That night, Olivia barely slept. For the first time in 5 years, there was a real chance she might walk again. But with hope came fear. What if it didn't work? What if it was just her imagination? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The next day, Dr. William Thompson, the Roberts family's private physician for over 15 years, made his routine monthly visit. Olivia decided to tell him about Daniel and the sensations she was experiencing. "Olivia, you need to be very careful," the doctor said after listening to her. "This man might be taking advantage of your vulnerability. Unscientific methods can do more harm than good." "But I'm feeling real changes," she insisted. "That could be the placebo effect," Dr. William explained. "Or worse, he might be causing neurological damage you haven't noticed yet. I'd like to run some tests." Olivia agreed, more to reassure the doctor than because of any real doubt. The following day, she underwent a series of neurological tests at the private hospital where she always received treatment. When the results came back a week later, it was Dr. Williams' turn to be surprised. "This is very unusual," he said, reviewing the tests for the 3rd time. "There are signs of neural activity that weren't present in your previous exams." "Is that good or bad?" Olivia asked. "Honestly, I don't know," the doctor admitted. "I've never seen anything like this. It's as if the nerves are trying to reconnect, but that should be impossible after so much time." Olivia felt a mix of emotions: hope, fear, confusion. "What do you recommend?" "I want you to continue with regular checkups," Dr. Williams said. "And I'd like to meet this Daniel. If he's truly achieving results, I need to understand how." When Olivia got home and told Daniel about the tests, he didn't seem surprised. "That's how it begins," he said simply. "Neural reconnection is a slow process, but once it starts, it can accelerate quickly." "Dr. William wants to speak with you," Olivia said. Daniel hesitated. "I'm not sure that's a good idea. Traditional doctors don't usually take well to alternative methods. He wants to understand, not criticize," Olivia assured him, "at least for now." The meeting between Daniel and Dr. William took place 3 days later in the mansion's living room. Olivia watched as the two men studied each other, each clearly skeptical of the other. "Mr. Miller," Dr. William began formally, "I'd like to understand exactly what you're doing with Olivia." Daniel patiently explained his method, demonstrating some of the pressure points he used and describing the theory behind each technique. Dr. William asked many questions, some clearly skeptical, others genuinely curious. "And how did you develop this technique?" the doctor asked. "Through years of study and practice," Daniel replied, "combining knowledge from acupuncture, neurological physiotherapy, and body psychology. That combination isn't recognized by traditional medicine," Dr. William noted. "Many things that work aren't recognized by traditional medicine," Daniel replied calmly. "Until someone proves they do." The tension in the room was palpable. Olivia decided to intervene. "Doctor, The results are in the tests. Something is working. Dr. Williams sighed. All right, I'll monitor her progress closely, but at the first sign of anything going wrong, we stop everything. Daniel agreed to the condition, but Olivia noticed he didn't seem comfortable with the medical supervision. In the weeks that followed, Olivia's progress intensified. She could move her toes voluntarily, something she hadn't done in 5 years. The tingling in her legs became more constant, and she occasionally felt involuntary muscle spasms. During this time, Olivia began noticing things about Daniel that intrigued her. He had impressive knowledge of anatomy and neurology, but also demonstrated a deep understanding of human psychology. He asked questions about her life, her relationships, her deepest fears. "Why do you want to walk again so badly?" he asked during a particularly intense session. The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean, why?" "Anyone would want to walk." "Yes, but what's your specific reason?" insisted Daniel. "What would you do if you could walk that you can't do now?" Olivia thought about the question. She had a driver, elevators everywhere she went. Her motorized wheelchair gave her mobility. Functionally, she could do almost everything. I want to feel like I'm the same person I was before," she finally answered. "And you think you're not?" Daniel asked gently. The question opened a wound Olivia had tried to keep closed for 5 years. "No," she admitted. "Before the accident, I was strong, independent. Now I'm just broken." "You run one of the largest construction companies in Illinois," Daniel pointed out. "You employ over 1,000 people. How is that being broken?" "It's different," Olivia insisted. "That's just work. I'm talking about who I am as a person." Daniel stopped what he was doing and looked directly at her. "Olivia, you may not believe it now, but you're stronger today than you were before the accident. Strength isn't about your legs working. It's about how you handle the situations life throws your way." Those words moved her deeply. She had spent 5 years feeling diminished, incomplete. Hearing someone say she was strong in a different way touched something deep in her soul. That night, for the first time since the accident, Olivia allowed herself to dream of a future where she walked again. Not because it would make her who she was before, but because it would represent a new version of herself. 2 months into the treatment, something happened that changed everything. Olivia was in the garden with Daniel doing some visualization exercises he had taught her when they heard loud voices coming from the gate. "Where is she? I know my cousin is being fooled by a charlatan," shouted a male voice Olivia recognized immediately. It was Nathan Roberts, her late husband's brother's son. In recent years, especially after it became clear she had no children and would inherit everything, Nathan had become increasingly present and interested in the family business. "Mr. Nathan, Mrs. Roberts is in the garden, but—" James, the driver, tried to explain. "I don't need permission to visit my family," Nathan interrupted. Olivia and Daniel exchanged glances. She knew this confrontation was inevitable. Nathan had heard rumors about Daniel and clearly wasn't happy. "Hi, Nate," Olivia said when he appeared in the garden, followed by James, who looked apologetic. Nathan was a 45-year-old man, always well-dressed, who had inherited the family's sense of entitlement without the work ethic. He looked at Daniel with obvious disdain. "Olivia, we need to talk." "Alone," he said, giving Daniel a meaningful look. "Daniel stays," Olivia said firmly. "He's part of my medical team now." "Medical team?" Nathan laughed sarcastically. "Olivia, this man is a beggar. Everyone in town is saying you've lost your mind." Olivia felt anger rise in her chest. "Everyone? Or just you and your friends who are interested in my inheritance? How can you say that?" Nathan pretended to be offended. "I'm just worried about you. This man is clearly taking advantage of your condition." "My condition is improving," Olivia said, "for the first time in 5 years." "That's impossible," Nathan said. "The best doctors in the world already said you'd never walk again. This man is filling your head with false hope." Daniel, who had remained silent until then, finally spoke. "Mr. Nathan, I understand your concern for your cousin, but I can assure you my methods are safe and producing measurable results." "Methods?" Nathan laughed again. "What methods? You don't even have a medical license." The remark hit Daniel like a slap. Olivia saw the pain flash in his eyes and felt a protective anger that surprised her. "Nathan, you need to leave," she said coldly. "Olivia, be reasonable," Nathan insisted. "At least consider a second medical opinion, a real one. I already have medical supervision. Dr. William is overseeing everything." "Dr. William?" Nathan seemed surprised. "He approves of this treatment?" "He monitors my progress, yes," Olivia replied. Not exactly lying, but not being entirely truthful either. Nathan looked between Olivia and Daniel, clearly searching for another approach. "Olivia, you're too alone in this house. You're vulnerable. This man could have ulterior motives." "What ulterior motives?" Olivia asked. "He only asked for food and a place to sleep. Not money, not gifts, nothing." "For now," Nathan said ominously. "But once he has your complete trust—" "Enough," Olivia raised her voice. "James, please escort Mr. Nathan out." Nathan realized he'd gone too far. "Olivia, I'm sorry. I just worry about you. You're all the family I have left." The sudden shift in tone didn't fool Olivia. She'd known Nathan for years and understood exactly what his motives were. "I appreciate your concern, Nate, but I'm fine. Better than I've been in years." After Nathan left, Olivia and Daniel sat in silence for a long time. "He's not entirely wrong," Daniel finally said. "What do you mean?" Olivia asked. "I don't have a medical license. I'm a discredited former doctor living in your house." From his perspective, it really does look suspicious. Olivia studied Daniel's face. There was something more there, something he wasn't saying. "Daniel, tell me the full truth about what happened to you. The whole truth." Daniel took a deep breath. "The patient I lost, he wasn't just any patient," he began. "He was the son of a very powerful man, a man with connections on the medical board, at the hospital, everywhere that mattered." Olivia felt a chill in her stomach. "Go on," she said. "When the treatment went wrong, they didn't just sue me. They made sure I could never work in medicine again. They spread rumors about my methods, questioned my sanity, painted me as a dangerous fraud." "But did you actually make a mistake?" Olivia asked. Daniel was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. "Yes," he said finally. "I made a mistake, but not the one they said I made. My mistake was trusting the wrong people." Before Olivia could ask what he meant, Daniel continued. "The treatment was working. The young man was regaining movement, but there were pressures to resolve the case quickly, one way or another." "What kind of pressures?" "The kind that involve a lot of money and a lot of power," Daniel said vaguely. "The kind I shouldn't have ignored." Olivia realized there were layers to Daniel's story she still didn't understand, but one thing was clear. He'd been wronged, just as she'd been wronged by life when she lost the use of her legs. "Daniel," she said, placing her hand over his, "I trust you no matter what happened in the past." His eyes filled with tears. "You shouldn't," he said. "You don't know me completely yet." "Then tell me," she insisted. "Tell me everything." That night, Daniel told Olivia the whole story. The patient was the son of a hospital industry businessman involved in insurance fraud. The young man had been injured during an illegal activity his father knew about. When Daniel's treatment started working, the father realized his son might testify against him if he fully recovered. "They offered me money to stop the treatment," Daniel explained. "They said it was better for everyone if the young man remained disabled. I refused, of course. And then? Then they sabotaged the treatment. They gave him medication that interfered with his neurological recovery. When complications arose, they blamed me for using unconventional methods." "Can you prove it?" "No," Daniel said sadly. "They made sure of that. They destroyed evidence, bribed witnesses, made it all look like I was an unstable doctor who had harmed a patient through negligence." Olivia was shocked by the story. She knew corruption existed in the business world, but she never imagined it could go this far in medicine. "And the young man? What happened to him?" He didn't survive the complications," Daniel said, his voice breaking. And I carry that guilt every day, even though I know it wasn't directly my fault. Now Olivia understood Daniel's obsessive determination to help her. It wasn't just about doing good. It was about redemption, about proving to himself that his methods could work when applied correctly. "That's why you want so badly to help me," she said. "Yes," Daniel admitted, "but also because I see in you a strength I lost. You never gave up, even after 5 years. That inspires me to try again." This conversation changed something fundamental in their relationship. They were no longer just doctor and patient, or benefactor and beneficiary. They were two people who had been broken by life and were trying to rebuild themselves together. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. In the following weeks, Olivia's progress accelerated dramatically. She could move both legs voluntarily, though she still couldn't support her own weight. More importantly, she felt alive in a way she hadn't for years. During this time, she began to notice she was developing feelings for Daniel that went beyond gratitude. He was smart, compassionate, dedicated. When he talked about medicine or life, his eyes lit up in a way that made her forget her past struggles. But she also noticed Daniel kept a careful, emotional distance. He was professional during sessions, friendly but not intimate during meals, respectful but not warm in casual conversations. One evening, after a particularly intense session where she had managed to consciously contract her thigh muscles, Olivia decided to confront that distance. "Daniel, can I ask you something personal?" she said as they finished the exercises. "Of course," he replied, putting away the equipment. "Have you ever been married?" The question caught him off guard. He stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "Why do you want to know?" "Curiosity," she said, trying to sound casual. "We spend so much time together, but I know very little about your personal life." Daniel hesitated before answering. "I was engaged," he finally said, "before everything fell apart." "What happened?" "She left me when I lost my medical license," he replied simply. "Said she couldn't stay with someone who had lost everything." Olivia felt a wave of anger on Daniel's behalf. "I'm so sorry." "Don't worry about it," he said, going back to arranging things. "She was right. I had nothing left to offer." "That's not true," Olivia said firmly. "You have knowledge, compassion, dedication. Any woman would be lucky to have you." Daniel stopped again and looked at her with an expression she couldn't decipher. "Olivia, you can't think of me that way." "Why not?" "Because I'm just a charity case to you. Nothing more." The statement left her speechless. It was so far from the truth that she could barely process it. "How can you say that?" she finally asked. "Because it's the reality," Daniel said, his voice turning colder. "You're a wealthy, successful, educated woman. I'm a former homeless doctor living in your garage. There's nothing but pity between us." Olivia felt as if she'd been slapped. "Do you really believe that?" "I have to," Daniel said. "It's the only way to stay focused on what really matters, your recovery." That night, Olivia barely slept. Daniel's words echoed in her mind. Did he really think she saw him as just charity, or was he protecting himself from feelings he knew were complicated? The next morning, she watched him during breakfast. He was more formal than usual, keeping the conversation strictly about her treatment. She realized he had emotionally withdrawn after their conversation the night before. During that day's physical therapy session, the tension between them was palpable. Daniel was overly professional, touching her only when necessary and avoiding unnecessary eye contact. Then something unexpected happened. During a strengthening exercise, Olivia felt a sudden, sharp pain in her left leg. Not the phantom pain she sometimes experienced, but real pain, as if the muscle were violently cramping. "Daniel!" she cried out. He immediately stopped what he was doing and turned to her. "What's wrong?" "My leg. It hurts," she said, tears of pain and frustration welling in her eyes. Daniel knelt beside her and began massaging the cramping muscle. "Take deep breaths," he said. "This is normal. It means your muscles are responding." It hurts so much, she said between tears. I know, he said, his voice softening back into the caring tone she'd grown used to. But it's a good sign. Pain means there's real sensation. As he massaged her leg, Olivia watched him. All the formality had vanished. He was focused only on helping her, his eyes filled with genuine concern. Daniel, she said as the pain began to ease. Yes? Thank you, for everything. He stopped massaging and looked at her. Olivia, I know, she interrupted. You think this is complicated, but I want you to know that what I feel for you has nothing to do with pity. Olivia, please don't let me finish, she said. These past few months you've given me more than movement in my legs. You've given me hope, purpose, joy. You've reminded me of who I am beyond this wheelchair. Daniel closed his eyes as if the words pained him. You don't understand, he said. I can't return those feelings, not because I don't have them, but because it wouldn't be fair to you. Let me decide what's fair for me, Olivia said. I can't, Daniel replied, standing up. Not until you're walking again. Only then can you make that decision clearly. The answer frustrated Olivia, but it also intrigued her. Daniel had indirectly admitted he had feelings for her. Now it was just a matter of waiting until she fully recovered. This new dynamic between them created a different kind of tension in the following sessions. There was a mutual awareness of unresolved feelings, but also an unspoken agreement to focus on her recovery. And the recovery was progressing quickly. 3 months after starting treatment, Olivia managed to stand for a few seconds while holding on to the parallel bars Daniel had installed in the physical therapy room. I can't believe it, she said, looking down and seeing her own feet on the ground. Believe it, Daniel replied, smiling broadly. You're doing it. When her legs began to tremble, Daniel helped her sit back down in the chair. But the damage was done. For the first time in 5 years, Olivia had stood on her own. That night, she called Dr. William to share the news. Olivia, that's impossible, the doctor said. Are you sure you weren't leaning on anything? I'm sure, doctor. Daniel was with me. He can confirm. I need to run new tests, Dr. William said, immediately. The tests revealed even more dramatic changes in Olivia's neural activity. Dr. William was so intrigued that he asked for permission to document the case. Olivia, if this is true, if you're really recovering, it would change everything we know about spinal cord injuries. It's true, she assured him, and it's thanks to Daniel. I'd like to present his case to some colleagues, Dr. Williams said. With your permission, of course. When Olivia mentioned this to Daniel, he visibly tensed. I'm not sure that's a good idea, he said. Why not? She asked. It could clear your name, restore your career. Or it could draw the wrong kind of attention, Daniel replied. The same people who destroyed me before. Olivia understood his fear, but also saw an opportunity for justice. Daniel, you can't hide forever. If your methods work, others deserve to benefit from them. First, let's focus on your full recovery, Daniel said. Then we'll think about the rest. A week later, Olivia managed 3 hesitant steps between the parallel bars. 2 weeks later, it was 10 steps. A month later, she was walking across the physical therapy room with only the support of a cane. The progress was so dramatic that even Mrs. Wilson, who had been skeptical from the start, began treating Daniel with genuine respect. Mr. Daniel, she said one morning, I owe you an apology. When you first arrived, I thought you were a fraud. Now I see you're a miracle. I'm no miracle, Mrs. Wilson, Daniel replied. Just someone who believes medicine goes beyond what we learn in books. It was around this time that Nathan reappeared. This time, he didn't come alone. He brought a lawyer and a psychiatrist with him. Olivia, he said when he arrived unannounced, we need to talk seriously. Olivia was in the garden with Daniel, practicing walking with her cane, when Nathan and his companions showed up. Nathan, you weren't invited, she said coldly. Olivia, I'm worried about you, Nathan replied, gesturing to the men beside him. Dr. Phillips here is a renowned psychiatrist. He'd like to evaluate your mental state. My mental state? Olivia couldn't hide her outrage. You're clearly under undue influence, the lawyer accompanying Nathan said. This man is taking advantage of your vulnerability. Daniel, who had remained silent, finally spoke. "Excuse me, but who are you to question Mrs. Olivia's sanity?" "I'm her family," Nathan said, "and these are professionals concerned for her well-being." "Professionals you hired," Daniel pointed out. "Olivia," the psychiatrist said, "I understand you believe you're recovering, but this could be a psychological defense mechanism. Sometimes when we can't accept our condition, we create illusions of improvement." Olivia was so furious she decided to give them a demonstration. Without warning anyone, she stood up from the chair and walked 10 steps to a nearby tree, using only her cane for support. The silence that followed was deafening. How is this possible?" stammered the psychiatrist. "Ask my doctor," said Olivia, returning to the chair. "Dr. William has all the tests that prove my recovery." Nathan looked between Olivia and Daniel with an expression mixing shock and anger. "This changes things," the lawyer murmured into Nathan's ear. "It changes nothing," Nathan said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "She's still under this man's influence. Who's to say he isn't using drugs or other questionable methods? The tests prove it," Olivia said firmly. "And now I want you all off my property." After they left, Olivia and Daniel sat in silence for a long time. "They'll try something," Daniel finally said. "Like what?" "I don't know, but men like Nathan don't give up easily when money is involved." Daniel was right. 3 days later, Nathan returned with a court order questioning Olivia's mental capacity to manage her affairs. The document claimed she was under undue influence and demanded an independent psychiatric evaluation. "They can't do this," Olivia told Dr. William when he came to visit. "Technically they can," the doctor explained, "especially if they present evidence that you might not be making rational decisions." "And letting a man live in my home is irrational?" "In the eyes of the law, it could be," Dr. William admitted, "especially given the circumstances of how you met." Olivia realized the situation was more serious than she'd imagined. If Nathan could prove she wasn't mentally competent, he could gain control over her business and fortune. "What do you recommend?" she asked. "Submit to the evaluation," Dr. Williams said, "but choose the psychiatrist yourself. Don't let it be someone Nathan picks." Olivia agreed, but she knew this legal battle was only the beginning. Nathan had shown his true intentions, and she'd have to fight to keep her autonomy. The night before the psychiatric evaluation, Olivia was too nervous to sleep. Daniel found her in the living room at 2 in the morning, staring out the window. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "What if they succeed?" she said. "What if they declare me incompetent?" Daniel sat beside her. "That won't happen. You're one of the most rational, intelligent people I know. But they'll question my decision to trust you," she said. "And honestly, from an outside perspective, it does look like madness." Daniel was silent for a moment. "Olivia, if my being here puts you at risk, I can leave." "No," she said immediately. "That's not what I want." "Then what do you want?" Olivia looked at him, this man who had changed her life in ways she could barely comprehend. "I want you to stay. I want to finish my recovery. And I want you to stop pretending there's nothing between us." "Olivia, no," she interrupted. "No more hiding behind professionalism and social differences. You said you'd wait until I could walk again to have this conversation." "Well, I'm walking." Daniel watched her for a long moment. "You're right," he finally said. "I've been hiding, but not for the reasons you think." "Then tell me the real reasons." Daniel stood and walked to the window. "I'm in love with you," he said without turning. "Completely, hopelessly in love. And it terrifies me." Olivia's heart raced. "Why does it terrify you?" "Because I have nothing to offer you," he said, facing her. "You deserve someone who can stand by your side as an equal, not someone you had to rescue from the streets." "Daniel, you've given me more in these past few months than any man has in my entire life," said Olivia. "You've given me hope, strength, purpose. How is that nothing?" "Because when the novelty wears off, when you realize you can have any man you want, you'll regret choosing the broken beggar." Olivia rose from her chair and walked toward him, using only her cane. "Look at me," she said, stopping in front of him. "I was broken too. We fixed each other. That doesn't make our bond less valuable. It makes it more precious." Daniel cupped her face in his hands. "Olivia, I love you so much it hurts, he whispered. Then stop fighting it, she said. They kissed there in the dim light of the living room, two wounded hearts who had found healing in each other. The next morning, Olivia faced her psychiatric evaluation with a calmness that surprised everyone. Dr. Sullivan, the independent psychiatrist she had chosen, conducted a 3-hour interview. "Mrs. Roberts," he said at the end, "I must admit, I came here expecting to find signs of mental instability. Instead, I found a rational, intelligent woman, perfectly capable of making her own decisions. What about my physical recovery?" "Extraordinary," the doctor admitted. "I'll have to study Mr. Miller's methods further. If he truly developed an effective technique for neurological recovery, this is revolutionary." When the evaluation results came in, Nathan was furious. Not only had Olivia been declared completely sound of mind, but the psychiatrist had recommended she receive recognition for her courage in exploring alternative treatments. "This isn't over," Nathan threatened when he heard the results. But for Olivia, everything was just beginning. Her physical recovery was nearly complete. She could walk considerable distances and even climb stairs carefully. More importantly, she had found love when she least expected it. 6 months after meeting Daniel, Olivia made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She called him for a formal conversation in her home library. "Daniel, I have a proposal for you," she said. "What kind of proposal?" "I want us to open a rehabilitation clinic together," she said. "Your methods work. Other people deserve access to them." Daniel fell silent, processing the idea. "Olivia, that would mean public exposure. The people who destroyed me before might try again." "Then we'll face them together," she said. "We can't let fear stop us from helping others." "What if it fails?" "Then at least we tried," Olivia replied. "But I believe it will work. I believe in you." Her faith in him was what finally convinced Daniel. They began preparations to open a clinic specializing in neurological rehabilitation, using alternative methods combined with traditional medicine. Dr. William Thompson agreed to serve as medical director, providing the necessary scientific credibility. They found a perfect building in downtown Chicago and began renovations. During this time, Olivia and Daniel's relationship deepened. They spent their days planning the clinic and their nights talking about their dreams and fears. It was as if they had known each other their whole lives. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is real," Daniel said one evening as they walked through the garden. "What? The clinic?" "Everything," he said. "You, us, the chance to restart my career. 2 years ago, I was sleeping on the streets with no hope at all. And I was trapped in my wheelchair with no hope at all," Olivia remembered. "We changed that together." The clinic's opening was scheduled for 10 months after their first meeting in the square. 1 week before the inauguration, something neither of them expected happened. Daniel was reviewing equipment at the clinic when an unfamiliar man approached him. "Mr. Miller?" the man asked. "Yes?" "My name is Dr. Robert Simmons. I'm a neurologist at Manhattan Medical Center." Daniel felt his blood run cold. The name was familiar, but he couldn't place it. "How can I help you?" Daniel asked carefully. "I'm here because of your case," Dr. Simmons said. "The case of Andrew Peterson 4 years ago." Daniel braced himself for more accusations, more humiliation, but what came next left him completely stunned. "Mr. Miller, I came here to apologize," Dr. Simmons said, "and to tell you the truth about what really happened to Andrew." "What do you mean?" "Andrew Peterson wasn't just the son of a corrupt businessman. He was also my nephew," Dr. Simmons explained, "and I knew my brother was sabotaging his treatment to prevent him from testifying against him." Daniel had to sit down to process the information. "You knew, and you did nothing?" "I was a coward," Dr. Simmons admitted. "My brother controlled the hospital where I worked. He threatened to ruin my career if I said anything." "So you let me take the blame for something I didn't do?" "Yes," Dr. Simmons said, his voice heavy with shame. "And it's haunted me every day since." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because my brother passed away last month. The threats are gone. And because I saw news about your work with Mrs. Roberts. You deserve to have your name cleared." Dr. Simmons handed Daniel a folder full of documents. Here are Andrew's real medical reports, records of the medications administered against my orders, and a detailed confession of what truly happened. Daniel opened the folder with trembling hands. There it was, proof of his innocence, 4 years after his life had been destroyed. "What do you want in return?" Daniel asked, still wary. "Nothing," Dr. Simmons said. "Just the chance to try and right a terrible wrong." That night, Daniel came home carrying the folder and an emotional weight Olivia immediately noticed. "What happened?" she asked when she saw him. Daniel told her everything about Dr. Simmons' visit and showed her the documents. Olivia stayed silent for a long time, absorbing the magnitude of what it meant. "Daniel, this means you could get your medical license back," she finally said. "It does," he agreed, "but I don't know if I want it." "What do you mean?" "Olivia, these past months have taught me that being a doctor isn't about having a license or working in a hospital. It's about helping people. And I'm doing that now, with you, with our clinic. But getting your license back also means no one can question your methods again," Olivia pointed out. Daniel realized she was right. With his reputation cleared and his license restored, he could help far more people. "Do you think I should try?" he asked. "I think you should follow your heart," Olivia said. "But remember, you're not alone in this decision anymore. We have a clinic to open, patients waiting for help, and a future to build together." Her words made Daniel realize his life was no longer about personal redemption. It was about the legacy they could leave together. He decided to use Dr. Simmons' documents to clear his name, but not to return to the traditional medical system. Instead, he would use his restored credibility to legitimize the alternative methods they were developing. The inauguration of the Roberts Miller Rehabilitation Clinic took place on a sunny Saturday morning. Dozens of people were present, including patients in wheelchairs, hopeful family members, curious doctors, and journalists interested in Olivia's recovery story. "Welcome," Olivia said into the microphone, standing without any support. "A year ago, I was convinced I'd never walk again. Today, not only am I standing, but I'm living a dream I didn't even know I had." She spoke about her journey, about meeting Daniel, and the importance of holding on to hope even when everything seemed lost. "This clinic isn't just about alternative medicine or unconventional methods," she said. "It's about believing in the healing power that exists when we combine science, compassion, and hope." When it was Daniel's turn to speak, he looked at the crowd of people who had come searching for hope. "4 years ago, I lost everything," he began. "My career, my reputation, my dignity. I thought my life was over, but I learned that sometimes we need to lose everything to discover what truly matters." He briefly told his story, without going into details about the conspiracy, but explaining how he had been falsely accused and how it had led him to the streets. "If I hadn't gone through that experience, I would have never met Olivia. I would have never learned that true medicine isn't about titles or recognition. It's about connecting with people who need hope." When he finished speaking, there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. The clinic's first patient was a 55-year-old woman named Helen, who had lost movement in her legs after a fall. Her story was similar to Olivia's, but she didn't have the means for expensive treatments. "Don't worry about money," Daniel said during her first appointment. "Our clinic serves people regardless of their financial situation." This principle, established from the beginning, made the Roberts Miller Rehabilitation Clinic something unique. Half of the patients paid full price, allowing the other half to be treated for free or at a discount. In the first 6 months of operation, the clinic treated over 100 patients. Not all had recoveries as dramatic as Olivia's, but the vast majority showed some improvement. During that time, Olivia and Daniel worked side by side every day. She handled the administrative side and he managed the treatments, but both were involved in major decisions. "You know people are talking about us, right?" Olivia said one night after a particularly busy day at the clinic. "Talking how?" "About us. Our relationship. Some say it's a beautiful love story. Others say you took advantage of me," she said with an ironic smile. "And what do you think?" "I think they don't understand that true love isn't about taking advantage. It's about two people who complete each other and become better together." That conversation led Daniel to make a decision he'd been considering for months. A week later, on an ordinary Thursday, Daniel proposed to Olivia in the garden of the mansion where they had truly gotten to know each other. It wasn't an elaborate proposal full of surprises. It was simple, sincere, and perfect. "Olivia," he said, kneeling in the same spot where she had taken her first steps, "when I met you, you gave me a second chance. Now, I want to spend the rest of my life giving you reasons not to regret that decision." "Daniel," she replied, tears streaming down her face, "you've already given me more than a lifetime's worth of reasons." They married 3 months later in a simple ceremony in the clinic's garden. Nathan wasn't invited, but many of the patients they had helped were there. During the ceremony, Olivia walked down the aisle without any support, publicly demonstrating her full recovery. When she reached the makeshift altar, Daniel was crying with emotion. "You did it," he whispered as she reached his side. "We did it," she corrected. Dr. William, who officiated the ceremony as a justice of the peace, declared them husband and wife before an audience that gave them a standing ovation. The following year, the Roberts Miller Clinic expanded to include treatments for a wider range of conditions. Daniel developed protocols for depression, anxiety, chronic pain, and other conditions that benefited from his integrative approach. Olivia, in turn, created a scholarship program that allowed low-income individuals to access quality treatments. She used part of her personal fortune to ensure money would never be a barrier to care. 2 years after the clinic opened, Daniel received an unexpected invitation. An international university wanted him to present his methods at a conference on integrative medicine. "You should go," Olivia said when he showed her the invitation. "And leave the clinic?" "For a week, yes. Daniel, what you've developed here could help people all over the world. You have an obligation to share this knowledge." The conference was a success. Daniel presented documented cases, including Olivia's, and demonstrated how alternative methods could be integrated with traditional medicine for better results. Several doctors expressed interest in his methods and requested training. This led Daniel and Olivia to create a certification program, teaching other professionals how to apply the techniques they had developed. 5 years after meeting in the square, Olivia and Daniel were running not just a clinic, but a network of professionals trained in integrative rehabilitation methods. One morning as they walked through the clinic, now housed in a 3-story building, Olivia stopped in front of a plaque at the entrance. "Roberts Miller Rehabilitation Clinic, where hope meets science." "Do you remember what you told me that first day in the square?" she asked. "I said a lot of things," Daniel replied, smiling. "You said you could make me walk again, but what you really did was so much more than that. What did I do? You taught me that true healing isn't just about recovering what we've lost. It's about discovering who we can become when we overcome our limitations." Daniel kissed her right there in the middle of the clinic hallway, surrounded by the sounds of people working, recovering, hoping. "You know what's most amazing," he said when they pulled apart. "What?" "That we were both broken when we met. And instead of 2 broken people making a broken relationship, we healed each other and created something stronger than we ever were alone." "That's what happens when true love meets true purpose," Olivia said. They continued walking through the clinic, observing patients who had arrived hopeless and were now making progress, doctors who had come in skeptical and were now advocates of integrative methods, families who had gotten their loved ones back. "You know our story is going to inspire a lot of people, don't you?" Olivia said. "How so?" "People will hear about the millionaire businesswoman who found love and healing with a beggar who turned out to be a brilliant doctor. They'll think it's just a nice story." "But it's not just a nice story," Daniel noted. "Exactly. It's proof that second chances exist, that love can come from the most unexpected places, and that our greatest weakness can become our greatest strength." 6 months after that conversation, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. The news filled them with a joy they hadn't known was possible. "Our child will grow up knowing miracles happen," Daniel said, placing his hand on Olivia's still flat stomach. "And he'll grow up knowing that true love has nothing to do with wealth or social status," added Olivia. "It's about finding someone who accepts you as you are and inspires you to be better." Their son, when he was born, was named Ethan, in honor of the boy from the story Olivia had read years before about second chances and hope. At the baptism ceremony, held in the garden of the clinic that now served patients from across the country, Olivia reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her there. 7 years earlier, she had been a bitter woman, confined to a wheelchair, convinced her life was over. Now she was a wife, a mother, the director of a life-changing clinic, and happier than she ever imagined possible. "Do you still remember what you thought when you first saw me in the square?" she asked Daniel as they watched Ethan sleeping in her arms. "I thought you were my last chance to prove I could still help someone," Daniel replied. "And what do you think now?" Daniel looked around, seeing the clinic full of life, the patients who had recovered, the doctors who had learned new methods, the families that had been reunited. "Now, I think you weren't my last chance," he said. "You were my fresh start." Olivia smiled, adjusting Ethan in her arms and watching the sunset through the clinic windows. "Sometimes I think everything had to happen exactly the way it did," she said. "My accident, your fall, our meeting, it was all necessary to bring us where we are now. Do you really believe that?" "I do. Because if anything had been different, we might never have met. And I can't imagine a world where that didn't happen." That night, after Ethan had been put to bed and the house was quiet, Olivia and Daniel sat in the garden where it had all begun. "Do you regret anything?" Olivia asked. "I regret not finding you sooner," Daniel replied. "But at the same time, I know we wouldn't have been ready for each other if we'd met under different circumstances." "That's true. I needed to be broken to appreciate someone who could help me rebuild. And I needed to lose everything to understand what truly mattered." They sat in silence for a moment, each lost in thought. "Daniel?" "Yes?" "Thank you for making me walk again." "Olivia, you always knew how to walk. I just reminded you." She chuckled softly. "I wasn't talking about my legs." "I know," he said, kissing her hand. "I know." Years later, when Ethan was a 5-year-old boy running through the clinic halls, Olivia wrote a book about her experience. It became a bestseller, not because it was a story of miraculous medical recovery, but because it was a story about love, second chances, and the transformative power of hope. On the last page of the book, she wrote, "There are moments in life when we lose everything we thought defined us. In those moments, we have two choices. We can let ourselves be broken permanently, or we can use the pieces to build something entirely new. I chose to rebuild, and in the process, I discovered that the life I made from my broken pieces was more beautiful than the perfect life I thought I had before." The Roberts Miller Rehabilitation Clinic continued to grow over the years. They opened branches in other cities, trained hundreds of professionals, and helped thousands of patients regain not just their physical abilities, but their hope in life. Daniel never returned to seeking traditional medical recognition. He had found something far more valuable: the ability to make a real difference in people's lives, free from the bureaucratic constraints that often held conventional medicine back from exploring new possibilities. Olivia, in turn, discovered that using her wealth to create opportunities for others was more fulfilling than any business success she had achieved before. 20 years after meeting in the square, Olivia and Daniel were honored by an international integrative medicine organization. During her acceptance speech, Olivia said something that perfectly summed up her journey. "When Daniel told me he could make me walk again, I thought he was talking about my legs. It took me months to realize he was talking about my life. He taught me that walking isn't about having legs that work. It's about having the courage to move forward, even when the path seems impossible." The audience gave a standing ovation, many with tears in their eyes, moved by the simplicity and depth of the message. That evening, at the hotel where they were staying for the ceremony, Olivia and Daniel talked about the future. "What do you want to do in the next 20 years?" she asked. "Keep helping people discover they're stronger than they think," Daniel replied. "And you?" "Keep being grateful every day for the beggar who changed my life," she said, smiling. "I didn't change your life," Daniel said. "We changed each other's lives." And it was true. They had saved each other, not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but in the deepest way possible, by giving each other a reason to believe in love, hope, and the future again. Their story became a legend in the city of Chicago, but not the kind people tell to impress. It was the kind of story people told when they needed hope, when they felt their own lives had reached an end, when they needed proof that second chances really exist. And whenever someone told the story of the millionaire businesswoman and the beggar who said he could make her walk again, the conclusion was always the same. Sometimes the most extraordinary miracles happen in the most ordinary moments between the people we least expect, in ways we never imagined possible. The end of the story. So what did you think of this touching story? Did Olivia really make the right choice by trusting Daniel? Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most and whether you believe love can truly overcome all differences. Leave a like if the story touched your heart, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other inspiring stories like this one.